TOA, Fit Body Forever and Fit Body Bootcamp communities. What's up, everybody? I'm Robert Linkul, your Director of Education over at Fit Body Bootcamp and the owner of TOA, TrainingTheOlderAdult.com. I hope you're all doing great. Welcome. We are going to talk today about some research on some things. Research on a new study that Canadian Kate sent over to us. So thank you, Kate, always sending us such great stuff. And representing TOA Proud up there in Canada, Vancouver area. We appreciate you. You're the best. And a new little logo that we had made up here, the Get Strong, Stay Strong, and Avoid Injury at All Cost logo. I've been in a little bit of a kettlebell kick of the last, 12 to 14 weeks. And I'm absolutely loving it, and it got me motivated, so I wanted to throw together a little logo, goes on my training protocol, and at the same time had a little Linkul family crest made up at the same time. So we're enjoying our Chat GPT instances here and there, as I have been slowly taking little bites of AI, if you will. Okay, we've got all kinds of pop-ups on here. I'm going to refresh this and see if we can't get just a regular look. There we go. Is that coming across on you? Okay, you guys see this. All right, here we go. From Kate. Thank you, Kate. This is from Jane McGuire, and this is published in Tom's Guide. I haven't heard of Tom's Guide, but you can see U.S. edition, et cetera, et cetera. They produce content. And funny part, here's what the science says. Let's keep that in mind here. As we dive into this, Not Swimming or Pilates, a 5-year study that reveals the exercise everyone over the age of 70 should prioritize for longevity. What could it be? I don't know. Let's get into it. As we age, it's important to, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, here we go. The Norwegian Generation 100. This is the name of the club, the group, the research study folks. The Norwegian Generation 100. They had a study that followed 1,500 men and women between the ages of 70 and 77 for 5 years, okay? The aim was to study the effects of exercise and the differences between moderate and high intensity exercise in that age group, okay? The results that are published here, we'll look at that in a minute. I'm going to show you the research study here in just a second. The results are very interesting, but let's just keep going on the overview. I'm going to try to get rid of a lot of these ads here as we go. The participants were divided into one of two groups and a control group, okay? So there was a group that exercised, and then there was a group that was the control group. Half of the participants in the exercise group did 2 weekly sessions of high intensity training. I'm going to list them up here because they're higher, okay? The other half did 2 sessions of moderate intensity training. And then the control group over here was instructed to follow national physical guidelines. And that includes, for adults and older adults, aerobic activity, moderate intensity of 150 to 300 minutes of aerobic activity like brisk walking or heavy gardening. High intensity, at least 75 to 150 minutes of aerobic activity like running or swimming. And breaking up activity, this activity can split up the shorter periods such as 10-minute intervals throughout the day. That you want to do something for your muscle and bone strengthening, perform muscle strengthening activities that involve all major muscle groups on at least 2 days a week. Sedentary behavior, reduce the amount of time sitting and or lying down, take breaks from sitting throughout the day. For individuals who sit more than 8 hours, at least 300 minutes of moderate activity and intensity of 150 minutes of vigorous activity per week is recommended for to reduce health risks. And then general considerations, some activity is better than nothing. Greater benefits, activities beyond the recommendation provides even further health benefits, and focus on progression. So pretty general, get outside and walk, be healthy, be active, expose your body to the sun, be social, okay? Go swimming, nothing about resistance training, nothing about nutrition, nothing else. It's basically just be active, don't sit on your butt for more than, a couple hours in a row and or 8 hours in a day, okay? So there's our high intensity, our moderate intensity, general guidelines, okay? All right. The participants have had thorough clinical examination and a fitness test at the 1-year mark at the 3-year mark and at the 5-year mark. And the results found that the high intensity interval trained group had the biggest increase in quality of life and improved cardiorespiratory fitness. In the high intensity interval group, only 3% of the participants died during the study. In the moderate intensity group, only 5.9% of the participants died. So for easy reference, let's call it 3% of the high intensity folks died, 6% of the moderate intensity folks died. So right away you think, boy, it sounds like we should do high intensity. We're going to reduce our risk by double of dying early if I'm between 70 and 77 years old by doing high intensity group training, okay? Both physical and mental health were better in the high intensity group after 5 years than the other two groups. And then when we talk about high intensity interval training, they just mean pushing yourself, to high intensities where your heart rate at least doubles, it gets rather high, you can't talk, it increases your cardiovascular max, your VO2 max, which is the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use, etc. And then that's the end of the article, pretty much. They talk a little bit about some examples of the Japanese walking method, of how you can do interval training while you're walking, 4 minutes fast, 4 minutes moderate, over and over again, like the American fartlek, if you will, running, high intensity, moderate, fartlek intervals, etc. Okay, so right away you're just like, okay, that sounds good. So let me throw a wrench in here for you. What if the group that did not resistance train, okay, the control group that was just walking every day, what if they had a lower risk of death compared to one of the other groups? What would that do to this whole study? Okay, would that throw a wrench into this whole thing? Okay, let's get into it here a little bit. This is a little bit further detail here. This is from the NTNU. I don't know what that is, but this is it's their university, the Norwegian, whatever it is, university. And then the Generation 100, this is all their studies and their landing page of their high intensity, their moderate intensity, and then their other one here, just the lady walking with her sticks. And they're very proud of this study, and then we're going to poke a bunch of holes in it. Okay, so we know all the outlines here that they've put together. Background from the study. Okay, they had a large collection of folks here that they were able to pluck from, and they found that the majority of them were already fairly active because they were volunteered to come into an activity, based study. So they're finding that maybe some of their results were swayed because of that. A total of 1,567 participants had been randomized to either 5 years of supervised exercise or to the control group. The exercise group was further randomized to either 2 weekly sessions of high intensity or moderate, okay? We know all that. They were tested, they had questionnaires, et cetera, and then here we go, okay? Cost, everything else, they wanted to just kind of keep it lower. They didn't have to buy equipment. All right, among the 70 to 77-year-olds in Norway, in general, 90% survive. Among 70 to 77-year-olds in Norway, in general, 90% survive the next 5 years. In the Generation 100 study population, an impressive 95.4% of the participants survived, right? So into that age bracket, if you do this study, if you exercise, anything in the study, you have a 95.4% chance versus, so you basically a 5.4% chance higher of surviving longer. The high survival is likely to come to some extent caused by the exercise performed by the participants in all 3 groups in the study. Our data shows that even the control group maintained a high level of physical activity throughout the period. Although this group was not offered organized exercise, the participants may have been motivated by their regular fitness and health checkups throughout the study. So because they're part of a study, they were motivated to be healthier because they knew they were going to be assessed. That makes sense. However, our findings cannot make us completely sure that exercise protocol prolongs life for older adults. The high survival in all groups is probably partially explained by the healthy participant bias. Those who signed up to participate in the Generation 100 study had relatively good health to start with, We were relatively physically active and probably had a high motivation to exercise in the first place. So you plucked 1,500 people that were already probably pretty motivated to be in shape and that were probably already in decent shape. So you're assessing good protocols, not the general population of everybody, just like the cream of the crop-ish a little bit if you want to think of it that way, okay? All right, trending here. Let's talk about this. Trending towards low risk of early death with high intensity. In the high intensity interval training group, 3% died early, died during the study for the high intensity, and then the 5.96% participated in the moderate exercise died. The difference between the groups is not statistically significant. However, the trend is so clear that we would encourage health authorities worldwide to recommend high-intensity exercise for older adults, at least as supplements to other types of exercise. By the way, in the control group, 4.7% of the participants died during the 5-year period. 6% that did the moderate intensity died. 4.7% less. They were in the control group, the group that did not do any of the intensities. They were just walking around, enjoying life, looking at rainbows and butterflies and exposing themselves to sunlight, grounding their feet, right? Enjoying a social stroll. They lived longer than the group that did the moderate intensity. Okay, we found no difference when we compared the survival in the two exercise groups combined and the survival in the control group. Furthermore, the risk of dying from cardiovascular disease or cancer did not differ between the three groups. An active control group. The participants in the control group exercised more than we thought they would, which makes it challenging to interpret the results. Actually, 20% of the participants in this group exercised regularly with high-intensity interval training. Thus, they performed more high-intensity training than the moderate group, but less than the high-intensity group. This must explain why they ended up in the middle, also in terms of mortality. All right, so you did a study where you told people, you do high, you do moderate, you don't do either of them. And then 20% of them said, we're gonna disobey the orders, we wanna exercise and do more of this stuff. So right away, your findings of your study here are a little mixed. You got some stuff here that's making things a little bit difficult to assess, but let's keep going. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what they have. Another possible reason for the study does not give us completely clear answers. Could be that not all the participants in the two exercise groups exercised according to the study protocol. Only half of the participants in the high intensity group actually performed regular high intensity interval training, whereas more than 10% of the participants in the moderate group frequently did the high intensity training. So now you have the non-participants participating in high intensity. 80% of the high intensity people doing that, while 20 said they didn't want to. But 20% of this group said they wanted to do that. So now all of your shit is all mixed together. How do you know who did what? How do you know what benefits most when 20%, a significant statistic according to your 2.5% or more, which is significant. It's 3%. Is it a different standard in Norway, in Europe? Do you go, what do you need more than 2.5% to be a significant difference? Scientific findings? I don't understand that. So none of your groups actually did what they were told, the majority, okay? And as you track them, you're just like, well, just everybody got better. So exercise is a good thing. Well, no shit. We already knew that. We wanted to know if high intensity was better than moderate intensity. Well, apparently not. Apparently it goes high intensity, walk around out in the sunlight, and then do moderate intensity if you're Norwegian and you don't want to die before age 77. Okay? But if I don't want to do the high intensity, I want to do this, only 20% chance that I could work my way into the high intensity pieces. Do you see the holes? Do you see the holes, Norway? Do you see the holes here? I don't know if this is a very sound study. All right, both physical and mental quality of life were better in the high intensity group after 5 years than the other two groups. High intensity interval training also had a greater effect on cardiorespiratory fitness after 1, 3, and 5 years compared to the other two groups. Higher fitness is closely linked to lower risk of premature death. So this improvement may possibly be the reason why the high intensity group apparently had the highest survival rate. So let's finish this. The participants in the other two groups in the Generational 100 study also managed to maintain their cardiorespiratory fitness throughout the 5 years. This is with the understanding that from 70 to 77, or 70 to 79, that decade, the average Norwegian drops 20% of their cardiovascular health, right? So if they just maintained, they didn't drop by 20%, that's a victory. I get that. But how do you know what of these three pieces made that result happen when everybody mixed it all up? You didn't really have any group that just did high intensity. You had 80% of your group that just did high intensity did that. But they actually talk about how many people dropped out of the study as it went through. So we don't really know what the final number was. I don't think. I didn't see that listed anywhere. It just goes into all their other studies that they had. So if we have to actually take something away from this, what is it? Exercise is good. Varied intensities towards the higher end is probably better. But if the control group did the 7 days a week, get out and exercise and walk every day, no matter what, maybe it's the frequency in which activity comes in. I think you can make an argument, thanks to a lot of other studies that don't have so many holes in them, that you're generally in the right realm of good information here. That high intensity interval training does work, and it will put you into better cardiovascular health. It will give you better muscular endurance, and the better muscular endurance you have in cardiovascular health you have, the longer you will live. The moderate intensity group didn't live as well, had a higher percentage of people that died through the study. But then again, they didn't say they did like a huge background if anyone had cancers or whatnot. It could be any of that. It could just be genetic makeup of the people. By the way, you only plucked, as you suggested in here, you only plucked people that were willing to come in and be active, and that were probably already active ahead of time. So you took pretty healthy people, asked them to break up into groups that they didn't stay in, and then at the end you said, well, here's what we found with our science and what our research now suggests. I don't know if I am on board with saying this was done very well. Can exercise really make you live longer? Well, let's take a look-see. According to the NTNU, we have volume on this? I don't have any volume. The individuals, they had 777 in one, 790, that's males, I guess, and these are the females. All right, they did high intensity, moderate, and the control group. I'm assuming there's audio here, someone talking. So these guys, they ran, and these ones walked quickly, and these ones used hiking poles, which, by the way, more work is done with the hiking poles. That's why they did better, okay? That's why they did better. They used more of their body. Anyway, I'm going to argue about that whole thing. Blood oxygen uptakes increases. Yeah, I mean, look at the moderate intensity group and the control group. If those little, charts actually showed improvements, mortality rates, expected mortality rate. So across the board, better, okay? Much better. Get your heart rate high over 140 beats or so. That's, zone 4. Here's zone 2, moderate intensity. And then you've got your zone 3, control group in the middle, zone 2, zone 3. I mean, cute graphics, right? There you go. Hey, there's your study, man. There's your study. And that gives you your infographic. You know me. The more support we have to suggest that this is a win, the better. I mean, I want this to be true. I just don't think it was really done all that well to really have anything that we could really take away from it. Unless Brad Schoenfeld, Len Kravitz, Jonathan Mike Israetel, Lane Norton, Andy Galpin, get people that are researchers that actually have done research and they're in Dean Somerset, get those guys that work at and girls that work in the universities, and let them interpret this and tell me, are they seeing the same holes that I'm seeing? I bet they tear this thing apart. But I'm going to send it to a couple of them, see what they think. But my opinion is I think they tried really well. They got as close as they could. I guess over 5 years, like you can't make everybody stay in their boxes, right? So you're going to have some overlap. Maybe people are just like, I need to get in better shape. I got to go do some high intensity stuff. I'm having issues. I want to live longer. I don't want to ruin the thing. Hey, by the way, you told me to just not, but I did it. And a whole bunch of like 20 other percentage, 19 other percentage points. Yeah, we kind of did that too. And the group was like, you know what? You asked us to do high intensity. We didn't actually do that. We kind of did more of the moderate. And so they kind of fell down there. And the moderate was like, we listened to instructions, assholes. We did what we were supposed to do. You guys, you two, screwed up the whole thing. We stayed moderate the whole time. All right, that's enough for me. I'm half having fun, half enjoying this. I think there are some good things we can take from it. I think you all get it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I entertained you a little bit. And I think, yeah, the overall takeaway is exercise is good. Higher intensities will make you live longer. And the best is high intensity resistance training. That's why the control group that used the hiking poles, they had resistance into the ground. I did this study in college. And there's more work production when you use your entire body than just your legs. You can go longer. You can create a higher VO2 max, technically, if you're not utilizing your arms because you're not using extra oxygen to feed the rest of your body. But if you're just like one-time effort, my best effort out, using your full body is the way to get the most work production in. So if you want to train your full body well and you're not going to lift weights, you're going to go for rucks or walks, using the sticks with your arms is a great way to get your upper body engaged in the walking component. So yeah, that's why I feel like they did better, because they were training more of their body. If the other group was just power walking and the other group was running, if that's literally how they did this, I think there was more stuff in there than that. But if this little infographic is the representation of what they actually did, it doesn't surprise me at all that the control group did better than the moderate group. And I bet you if they put rucks or vests on them, they would have won. If they had load in hand, I bet you they would have been like 7 or 8% on that. Well, no, the other way around. It would have been like 1 or 2% of death rate. That's what I'm trying to say. Those individuals would have won the research. They would have won the research. They would have had a 1 or 2% death during that. Then the moderate group then the high intensity group at 3, and then the moderate group at 6. I think that's how it would have gone. Okay, that's my prediction. If we're just throwing stuff against the wall, that's my prediction, is that the rucking group that would carry load and utilize their arms when they're hiking up there, they would have done the best. If you're not going to include resistance training, that's the best I can get you, is walking around with weight in hand. That's pretty close to resistance training. You're carrying load and you're walking at the same time. Your body will respond. All right, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Robert Linkul. TrainingTheOlderAdult.com. Head to the website, check us out. Please subscribe, like the video, share it with other people if you found it to be entertaining or knowledgeable or any of the aboves. Please ring the bells and do everything you can to help us grow the channel. Please, we need your help. We need help. We want to grow. We want to get our information in front of more people. So whatever you can do to help us out, we'd really appreciate it. Until next time, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.